Rusnak plays it in. The header, score! Movsisyan!
Tocando la pelota para Yura Movsisyan. Yura trata de acomodarse, pisa el balón, le pega de zurda. ¡Qué golazo!
Lifts this ahead. Movsisyan! Tie game!
Hello and welcome to the newest episode of Football Kentron. I am Autumn and I am joined here by Onmen and Chadens. And today we are going to be discussing the ins and outs of Armenian football, as usual. And we're going to start off this episode, kick things off, for lack of a better phrase, pun intended, with the news that Armenia National Team striker Yura Movsisyan has announced his official retirement from football. What a life, what a story, what a career. And we're just going to be talking a little bit about Yura and his journey and, you know, the grounds that he broke for Armenian football. So Yura is a cup winner, MLS Cup winner with Real Salt Lake in 2009 in the MLS. He was the first, Armenian person we saw holding an Armenian flag with an actual trophy, in front of it. And he also was another cup winner later in his career in 2018 with Djurgården in Sweden during a small loan. He was the top scorer for the RPL in 2012 and 2013 during his spell at Spartak Moscow. And he's the second top goal scorer in the Armenian National Team with 14 goals in 38 games, second only to Henrik Mkhitaryan, who has exponential more number of games, but we'll get into that a little deeper later. And he's the only player in Armenian National Team history to score a poker in an official game. In the November 2018 6-2 win over Gibraltar in the UEFA Nations League, Yura Movsisyan scored 4 goals. Now, I have like a little bit more of a connection to Yura than a lot of people do. We come from the same town, Pasadena, California. He went to, he's a Pasadena City College player. That's where he,
Neighbors.
Yeah, they're practically like I've driven past that guy's family home a million times. I know his brother, his younger brother, well. We were friends in high school, and so he was a person that I remember looking at a lot, and a person that I remember being one of the major reasons why I started to not only become a football fan, but begin to religiously follow the Armenian National Team. So to me, he's a person that's very important, and I'm very glad to see the successes that he reached in his career, and I'm hoping he reaches just as many successes beyond his career.
Yura became champion in 2009 MLS in America early in his career, and then he moved to Denmark, which is the team Randers. There he had the goal coefficient of 0.30, so that means 1 goal every 3 games guaranteed. And he met this 15-year-old Randers Academy talent who he gave a signed jersey, and that kid's name was Edgar Babayan. Maybe reminiscing that moment may give our current national team young striker some extra motivation to go for that move he's been needing lately, as we've been mentioning a lot on our episodes. Please. Yeah. And then until to this day, we all of us idolize Yura, which is obvious. And then he moved to Armenia, Armenian owned team, Krasodar, which is the city with the most influential Armenian communities in the world, in Russia. And that's where he started to reach his peak. And then between Krasodar and Spartak Moscow, where it was in 2011 until 2016, so between 5 years, he played 112 RPL games, which he scored 48 goals, which is actually a big thing, a big achievement. And then he became the top goal scorer, and he had a 43% goal coefficient. Not goals plus assists, but only goals. No assists, just goals. That's massive, if you ask me.
And if you, that's going on to that point a little more, if you add his assists, which we don't have the number in front of us right now, that his goal coefficient or goal contribution goes up even higher.
Yeah.
Because he didn't only score goals, he assisted a lot of goals also.
Mind you, he's a striker.
And he's a striker, yeah, who are supposed to be selfish, in front of
I mean, those numbers are crazy. Seriously. I remember that national team attack when he was starting to shine at Randers. He got the move to Krasodar. I think it was as soon as he joined Krasodar that he joined the Armenian National Team in 2011. 2012 was our Armenian National Team best season, and Mkhitaryan was already shining in Shakhtar. He became record breaker, earned his move to Borussia Dortmund in 2013, and by 2015 he moved. He was already in his third season in Borussia, and that attack was crazy for the national team. Mkhitaryan actually set sights on a very young and talented Armenian national team, where Yura's individual feats actually in Russia got him offers from Europe, like even better teams, like legit giants, like Tottenham, Wolfsburg, Hamburg, like repeatedly, not just once. Hamburg and Wolfsburg went after Yura a couple times, and he always turned them down. Actually, Arsenal and Italian Sampdoria from Genova City also specifically asked about Yura as well, and he turned them down as well. I honestly don't know why. I think he stated that he felt at home at Spartak. I can see why. I mean, Nikita Simonian being the Spartak top goal scorer of all time. There were Armenians all over the Spartak Moscow board. The head physician, the head doctor was Armenian. I can understand that, but he even had a teammate in his close friend Aras Ozbilis. But after 2 years of playing together, both him and Aras, in 2016, both of them had to leave the Russian Giants. And after that, didn't join forces ever again, sadly. It was a sight for all of us. It was very beautiful to see them together at club stage. And for both of them, it just went downhill, right? 2016 to 2018, 2 years when he returned to RSL in the MLS, most Armenian franchise in the MLS, as I like to call them. He actually didn't have that bad of a record on his second spell at MLS, at RSL more precisely. He played 47 games and scored 16 goals, which is overall
better than most.
Yeah, that's once again one goal in every 3 games. That's pretty solid, even for a striker.
It's consistent. Yeah, it's consistent.
Yeah, he never really played worse than that. That good was his lowest. He was at least good, and sometimes even great for those 5 years in Russia. So yeah, speaking about those 5 years in Russia, his MLS numbers in his second spell were solid, but not as good as that. And on top of that, when he returned to the MLS, he was starting to pick up those injuries. And we don't want to go over the whole national team scandal situation with the former federation board, the fighting. It was not a good time for the Armenian national team overall, and it affected Yura's game as well. So his level dropped over those 2 years back in the MLS. He tried to make his comeback in Sweden when he went on loan to Djurgården. I pronounced it right. I hope my Scandinavian friends forgive me. So yeah, on those 6 months, he didn't really make a big of an impact on the pitch, he mostly played cup ties and only 4 league games in 6 months. It's nothing. But those cup ties he played were enough for him to win the Swedish Cup as a loanee, as we were talking about earlier. This was 2018. So, yeah, he didn't. He made an impact, but not as big as he would during his peak. So he had to go back to the MLS after his loan, but that wasn't all that good either. He went to Chicago Fire, and after the whole David Darshagyan fiasco, we don't want to get into that either, but we sort of are. And he didn't make an impact in the Win the City franchise either. So I guess he just went downhill.
Yeah, his retirement from professional football, it was very gradual and almost unnoticeable, and at a very young age. For example, his last game was for Armenia, and it was a 2-2 draw with Liechtenstein, and he was 30 years old at the time, and that was in 2018.
How could we draw that game?
I don't know. I think those are solid years we should just never talk about, honestly. There are just some years you just don't talk about. But good one. But that's one thing I know all of us were kind of sitting and waiting and thinking, okay, like this guy just scored 4 goals in one game. Someone sign him, he's a free agent. Yeah. He got called up to the national. That
always happens.
He got called up to the national team as a free agent, which is like
crazy.
Yeah.
His poker was as a free agent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you'd think someone would have signed him, but it kind of went quiet, and then at the age of 33, he just kind of made the announcement official. We expected him to go out with a bang, just like his entire career. He was always scoring goals, but at the end of the day, unfortunately, his career came to an end in not the best way possible. But what we do remember Yura for is all of the great goals and joy that he's given us during his time as the striker for the Armenian National Team. We could talk about his performance at Slovakia at home. We could talk about his brace at Denmark. We can talk about that last-minute chip winner against Bulgaria. We could talk about that insane goal he scored in the opening few minutes against Italy, or the 4 goals he scored against Gibraltar. So Yura has definitely given Armenia a lot of things to be excited about, and he is part of this Armenian team that we look at and think at. Some may say, okay, that was the peak of Armenian football. At that time, we were ranked 33rd in the world, which is crazy now when we kind of keep bouncing around in the hundreds area. But these may have perhaps been the only memorable moments of his career for us, but there's years and years of hard work behind it, countless amount of goals, and the hustle that he's pulled in, and the many smiles he's given us. So we just wanted to dedicate this section of the show to thank Yura for all of the memories and give him our best wishes for the future off the pitch. He's definitely, in our books, one of the best, if not just the best Armenian striker of all time. We'll miss screaming like crazy when he scores goals for us, but for us, he's left a huge mark on Armenian football, and we are forever thankful for him. Thank you, Yura. Enjoy retirement. I heard it's fun. So,
legend.
We're going to move from one Swedish Cup winner to another Swedish Cup winner. Armen, we got some news.
Wow, Adam, what a ride. You almost made me emotional. Now you made me laugh. But yeah, we got to move on. And how do we move on? To another cup winner in Sweden, Andre Challenger, right? I like that pronunciation. He would be happy with the pronunciation. He spent 3 years at the Swedish Giants Göteborg. Also, shout out my Scandinavian friends again. He made his Armenian national team debut, Andre, almost simultaneously as he joined Göteborg in 2018. Actually, only 4 months, I believe, after moving to the Swedish Giants. There, at his new club, he played 81 games in 3 years, scored 2 goals, which is good for a center back, and got 22 clean sheets, which is actually the more important index to take into account.
For a defender, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically one overall in 3 years, 1 clean sheet per 4 games. Not a great record for a decreasing, like kind of sleeping giant that has been Göteborg lately. But that number, that proportion changes if you consider the clean sheet proportion or percentage per year, per season. So on his first season, Andre got 5 clean sheets in 27 games, which is the lowest of his clean sheet proportion overall in Göteborg. 18% of clean sheets, which is low. That number critically improves on his sophomore season to 10 clean sheets in 30 games, like around 1 clean sheet every 3 games, which now is solid, and 29% amidst the COVID pandemic of a clean sheet record on his last season in Göteborg. But the thing is interesting. He became the team captain in that third season. So as the stats show, dear ladies and gentlemen, his debut season at Göteborg was hard. We could say it was hard, but he definitely settled in during his sophomore year in 2019. And for the third year, he actually had the ground set by himself to shine and become the team captain. On his last year, then becoming the team captain, he's made a wonderful job. He did a wonderful job and actually led his team into their first trophy in 5 years. And furthermore, this is individual achievement, he became 2020 MVP in Sweden. That's great. Like the same league where people like Zlatan Ibrahimovic or Larsson became MVPs.
Yep.
Think
the
about
legends
that.
of the game.
Exactly. Being an actual center back himself, Freddie Ljungberg, we could go on and on, but none of them were actually a center back. And Andre is. Göteborg, actually, his team, as I say, they're a giant. They dominated the Swedish football scene between 1980 and the change of century for 20 years. And during those 20 years, they actually even won 2 UEFA Europa Leagues in the 80s, more precisely. But during these last 20 years, they actually struggled to get much silverware, aside from a few cups here and there, like the one Andre led.
Yeah, it wasn't much.
Yeah, but he had a good year, and silverware like is proof of that.
Yeah,
like
it's a way of
actually,
progression if you think about it.
Yeah, and he also had like a good 2020 at national team career. Like he had a good season, and that led to his move, right, Adam?
Yes. So he was obviously a very integral part of our UEFA Nations League campaign, and I think we can all agree that without the center back partnership that we have with him, he's like, I mean,
yeah,
a huge difference maker. Yeah, him and Vaza Haroyan.
Their ages ahead of the substitutes, sadly.
Yeah, by far, and which sucks, but we're hopefully on the hunt for some good young central defenders. So he was, of course, very integral to our 2020 campaign. And he, is making this move finally out of the comfort zone of Sweden, where he spent a majority of his career, and he's going to Greece. Ooh, Apollon Smyrnis, I think is how you pronounce the name of the club.
Yep, that's correct.
Chadens, you're
the
double
Olives.
so
it's correct.
So Apollon Smyrnis is a club that was founded by Greek refugees from the area around the city, and it's now considered a Turkish domain called Smyrni or Izmir. The Light Brigade, as they're known, are not traditional powerhouses that Gothenburg are in Sweden, but they've made a few big signings, such as our very own Andre, and they're trying to keep their spot not only in the Greek Super League, but starting to make a push towards European football, and adding a experienced seasoned center back signing is going to help stop a lot of that goal conceding issues that they're having. I was just looking at the table.
The backbone of a team.
I was just looking at a table, and Apollon are currently 10th in the league, but they still have one game in hand that they haven't played, and if they do win that game, they can jump up to 8th. So it's not a lost cause to get into the top half of the table for the second half playoffs in the Greek Super League, and I think that's the type of push that the club is trying to make by signing Andre. So we can expect him to start almost every game. We can expect him to get a lot of playing time, and we can
as long as he's not injured,
which we just found out he is. We don't know
Oh my God.
We don't know the details of his injury. We will look into it. Hopefully it won't be for too long because we have national team games in exactly 2 months. So we're going to need to get...
When do we play exactly?
25th, I think, the start.
Yes, I think it...
Who are we opening against?
We are playing, I will tell you right now, Armenia versus Liechtenstein on Thursday, March 25th. So we are hoping to get him fit by then, because right after Liechtenstein, we have Iceland at home on March 28th. So he's a center back regular. We need him. He started off well. He made his debut in the first leg of the club cup clash with AEK. They lost 2-0, but I think it was his first game. He's still trying to get his feet in with the club. And as a center back, you can't. Of course, a lot of goals are going to be blamed on the defense, but he's getting adjusted to a brand new back line and going from being a vocal leader in Gothenburg to, not having the captain's
being a newcomer.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment, but hopefully he gets fit, is able to make that short trip to Yerevan and help us out in March. Challenge.
It's much needed.
Yeah, it is.
Speaking about Yerevan and Armenia, we've got a few transfers from many directions coming and going. So we've got one joining the Armenian Premier League, one moving between the Armenian Premier League, and one leaving the Armenian Premier League, which is interesting. So the player who, from every single direction we've got a player. So the first player, which we're going to discuss, is Yurchenko going to Alashkert. 34-year-old goalie, good or bad, going to Alashkert. What do you guys think?
Armen?
Good or bad? Good or bad? I can tell you it's big. And I guess it depends. The perspective on whether it was a good move or a bad move really depends on which perspective you're taking. If we're talking about the Armenian Premier League and Alashkert in particular, it's gonna be a good move. I'm almost certain that he's valued at 34 years old at 600,000 euros or something like that, which for the Armenian National Team, for the Armenian Premier League, is huge. And he's got his own record, which needs no introduction by now. So it's gonna be a good move for the Armenian Premier League and Alashkert. For him, however, I don't know about level. I think he could have performed in Kazakhstan or Ukraine or something like that for another season. But I guess it's interesting that he wants to give 2 or at least 1 good, top-notch season to the Armenian Premier League, and on top of that, he's going to be close to the Armenian National Team camps. so he won't
Yeah.
have to fly,
Yeah.
and he will meet with Caparros anytime he wants.
Yeah.
It's
So
gonna
I
be
agree on that
interesting.
side. Yeah.
I think so. I think at his age, at 34, yes, he could still probably perform 1 or 2 seasons somewhere like in the Ukraine or in Kazakhstan. But in reality, at his age, knowing that the national team is counting on him to be the starter, he just needs
Yeah.
to stay sharp and fit. And if he can just contribute to the growth of Armenian football while doing so, I think it's a win-win. I think Alashkert are getting a very good goalkeeper. I think
Definitely.
he's miles better than every other goalkeeper in the league, in my opinion. Maybe Ivazov eventually can be made good as him. Who knows? That's
He's
yet
got
to
to
be
move
seen.
abroad.
Yeah, but he has to
Gotta
move
move.
abroad to
Yeah.
do so. So
I agree there with Armin. Yeah.
Guys, plus
He's got to move.
Yushchenko, like, let's be real. Side note, Yushchenko is gonna be so pampered in Armenia.
of course, yeah, and why not?
Hands down.
He just had a kid. He's married. You know, I'm sure his wife's gonna want a nice settled down place, and what better place to live than in Armenia, right? So
Definitely. They're gonna give him the full treatment.
they are gonna give him the full treatment. And
Followups every day.
well, speaking of the full treatment, someone who hasn't necessarily gotten that, but worked very hard to get to where he is today, Alexander Karapetyan. We just
Yep.
read a rumor right before coming on and recording, which may or may not be confirmed by the time this episode goes out in a few days, that Alexander Karapetyan is ready to leave Tambov in the Russian Premier League and join reigning champions Ararat Armenia. Challenge, Armen. What do you guys think about this?
75% I'm down for it, but I don't know.
What's the 25%?
The 25% is that, like we discussed right before going on the call, is that it
Yeah.
might affect the national team in a way because there wouldn't be growth. But
Yeah.
if you think about it, he's kind of grown, I guess. He can
He's
be
not
something
young.
similar to Yurchenko.
33. Just turned
Like he would,
33.
idolize it. Yeah, he would kind of be like Yurchenko in a way. Like the
Definitely.
young players would idolize him in a way.
I think he's the type of player that he doesn't need to be in a good league to be scoring for the national team. I think
Exactly.
he's a
I
big
agree.
time form player. If his form is good, does not matter what shirt he has on, he's going to score. So for us, if he's scoring easier goals in Armenia, his
He's gonna be confident.
exactly, and which
Plus-
for us, great.
Actually, if you guys remember, his first few times, not his very first summon to the national team, but the second, when he actually shared teams with Yura on that poker day we were talking for Yura against Gibraltar. That year, like 2 years ago, he was starting to shine and make his way to the Russian Premier League from Luxembourg. Like his first insane spell of goals for the Armenian national team, he started off playing in Luxembourg at the time.
Yeah, and that's where
Small
that's
country.
how. Yeah, that's how he ended up moving and kind of getting notoriety because we know Russia loves to get Armenian players. You get them on
And
the
it's
cheap.
easier access if you think about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, also another aspect of this move that we haven't discussed yet is how Arada Armenia is really pushing to be the first Armenian club in European football. They've gotten close twice, lost in the playoffs twice. And and I think one thing that they are missing with their new manager, Campania, David
Campania,
yeah, with Campania is
the forbidden name.
they were missing a consistent goal scorer. So I think if they bring someone like Karapetyan and they have another run, which honestly I think we're all expecting another run for Europa League, they might win the league, so they might get a shot at Champions League, but that's probably not going to happen. So we could potentially see Europa League action, and you know what? If Adana Armenia does manage to pull it off, we have Alexander Karapetyan, our national team striker, in the second half of World Cup qualifiers
Plus-
playing in the Europa League.
Yeah, that's why I was so down to it. Yeah.
Actually, if you think about it, with Karapetyan, they would be getting on top of everything a captain, a leader, like a natural born leader, and with sense of identity. That's one of the key things that Ararat Armenia and most Armenian clubs lack.
Yeah.
An Armenian leader, like
Maybe he'll actually learn Armenian too. I don't have to keep watching interviews in Russian with subtitles.
he will, but you know he he has the sense of identity, even if he doesn't know the language all that well, and he's a hustler. So
and Armenia loves him. I could tell you, like I've said that before, when he scored that goal against Italy in that stadium, I've never been deafened in my life by sound like that. So we love him, and he knows that. So welcome home.
He delivers.
Another one, staying in the Armenian Premier League, Danielyan is making the lateral move from Ararat Armenia to Ararat Yerevan. The 22-year-old defender who's shown under Minasyan at FC Ararat Armenia kind of fell out of favor with Campania with a bunch of new foreign signings. So he's joining Ararat Yerevan to kind of get his career back on track. He's still very young. He was a Armenia under 21 regular, but he is trying to make a push for the national team. What do you guys think about this?
We need that.
Exactly what I was gonna say. Like we were literally talking about how we need someone for Andre to pass the torch on in the near to medium future, and Danielyan needs to get his things together so he can be the one that carries on the torch.
But don't you guys think he could do better? I mean, we read rumors that he was going to be Ukraine was a possible destination again for him. It seems like
he could do better.
It seems like another example of failing to take that next step, because we know you and I, Armin, love this guy. We know how talented he is, and you know what?
Do we know who his agent is?
We don't, but we'll look into that.
There it is. I think the key that's missing is that question.
Yeah. Well, you know what? And that's something that we've had a lot of experience with recently. So, well, anyway, hopefully he does well. Ararat Yerevan is top of the table currently. Their manager, Bichakjan, Vahan Bichakjan's father, is killing it. I think they can win the league. So with a signing like that, again, we could see him hopefully playing European football.
Ararat Yerevan I'm sorry, I had to cut you off, but Ararat Yerevan formed kind of a great environment. And that's why I don't see the move for Danielyan as a complete loss, because he's going to be playing with the likes of Edgar Malakian, who played not only national team for several years, and abroad for several years. Edgar Malakian actually was one of the first Armenians to play UEFA Champions League. And with Victoria Pilsen, the Czech team, he's gonna be with Artak Yedigarian, who was a national team left back for many years. He's gonna be with Udo in the middle. He's gonna be with Garen Hagopian, the other defensive midfielder. So it's going to give him a lot of information and education, about what's coming for him should he join the national team in the near future. He's going to have to soak it all in.
Yeah, and I think I think overall it is a good move, because we're seeing a very Armenian-centric, Armenian-driven club being led to success versus past couple seasons with Ararat Armenia and Noah buying a lot of foreign talent and shunning Armenians. So you know what? We're all for that. You do you. We're happy. Some other news. Leaving the APL, third part. Artem Simonyan has made the move away from FC Noah to Tomsk, a second division Russian side. Charents, Armen, Tomsk, Noah. Good move at this stage in his career? It's an odd one.
No, yeah, I wouldn't say no, but I'm definitely not gonna say yes.
It feels like
It's-
a money. It's like a money thing. He's
I'm
only
assuming
25.
it is.
No, I don't think it's money. I don't think
What is it
it's about the money. I think it's about him actually being full on board, like being his close friends Alexander Krashakov's like mentee.
Oh, but he's
That's the
25 right now. He's been
Yeah.
capped with the national team already 10 times. He was performing well with Noah, and I think another
Yeah, he was a team
side,
leader there.
yeah, another side that we thought, could make a decent European push if it wasn't for poor management, honestly. He performs very well in the Armenian Premier League, but Tomsk is a like lower half of the table possible relegation candidate side, and I know it's a 6-month deal, or is it a 1-year contract? I'm not
1 year.
1 year contract. So we'll
Yeah.
I'm sure
It's not permanent.
I'm sure it's a pay raise for sure. And I know, after he was a Zenit Academy product, so I think maybe he has a little chip on his shoulder of kind of like wants to be able to prove he can play in Russia.
Definitely.
That could
I
be,
have no doubts about that.
yeah.
It's going to be about that, and not just for him, actually. I think we're talking about Simonian because he's Armenian, right? But Simonian is Kazhakov's mentee, and this move was not really about Simonian, in my opinion. So for both him, for both Artem, and for both and Alexander Kazhakov as well, who is, by the way, a legend in Russia, like we're talking about almost Andrei Arshavin levels. So for Kazhakov, it's gonna be like a transition place in his career. He's not gonna stay in Tomsk for long. He was just given the position to start off his coaching career, and he actually asked for Simonian specifically, and Simonian is a leader, so it will basically be Alexander Kazhakov on the pitch. So I almost can see them both at the end of this upcoming season, or whenever the contract expires. I can totally see them both in a better positioned team. Definitely.
Yeah. We'll see what
I
happens.
have no doubts.
But speaking of Armenian talents that are in a weird place right now, we have a couple more Armenian players in the Kazakh Premier League. You know how much we love the Kazakhstan Premier League here. Being let go. So this is okay. This is what's tough.
You can continue.
So we have a young,
tricky one.
good playmaker in Petros Avestisyan. He was very integral in Arada Armenia's initial run towards the UEFA Europa League, where they lost in the playoffs on penalties. He makes the move to Kazakhstan. We have left back Arman Hovhannisyan makes the move to Kazakhstan. We have a lot of players that seem to make that jump. It's not that big of a jump, but it is a jump. Kazakhstan does pay substantially higher than Armenia does. And
it's a trampoline. It's a transition.
It is, but sometimes the trampoline breaks.
Yeah.
And that seems to be what happened here, because Arman Hovhannisyan and Petros Avestisyan are both out of contract. Their clubs, Tobol, decided to not extend their deals despite having okay stats. And in my opinion, looking at the statistics, maybe not enough chances. So
Definitely.
I don't know what.
Consider, like, on top of that, like, there are especially few chances if you consider Arman Hovhannisyan actually throughout this season playing in Kazakhstan, being benched in Kazakhstan. He actually became national team starter and Caparros's favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have seen Caparros, and talking a little bit about what's to come, because in 2 months from now we have the group stage for the national team. Yeah. Caparros has repeatedly lately talked about how Serop Grigorian is kind of like his talisman for the future. A future great left back for Armenia to take care of and try to pamper. But he found not in setup, but actually in Arman Hovhannisyan, his current starter.
Yeah.
And like, how could, even if Tobol is not a bad team in itself, they always push for European playoff spots. But even then, we are the Armenian national team, and Arman is our starting left back. Like,
For now.
Yeah, no, but he's good enough. As long as he finds a team quickly, he's gonna stay.
But I think another person you can throw into that is Hakop Hakopian. I think he might surprise us all because Urartu is doing really well right now.
Hopefully not with a move to Kazakhstan.
Yeah, hopefully not with the move to Kazakhstan. But there is some good news for Armenians in Kazakhstan. We have two more Armenians in the Kazakh Premier League. Atrayu, who won the second division and got promoted into the Kazakh Premier League, is coached by an Armenian, Aram Voskanyan, and is led by their captain and playmaker, Artak Dashyan, who I believe he had a few national team caps in his time.
Yeah, yes.
Great, that's good to see. I don't think it's necessarily going to make any impact on the national team at all, but it's some positive news. It balances it out. We have some negatives in Kazakhstan, positives in Kazakhstan.
It shows depth. It shows depth. Like the fact that we're gonna have another playmaker, another like offensive midfielder playing pretty good football, and he won't even be considered. He not just called up. He won't even be considered because we have even in Petros Avedisyan a more interesting alternative. But it's a good sign that we have so much to offer.
Yeah, and other than that, there isn't any other big names in consideration for transfers. Some players we were thinking about who we would want to see move. Tigran Barsegyan, Kadimian, who's still a free agent, hasn't signed with a club yet. We know there was interest in several leagues. I'm sure in the next week or so he'll finally make a decision and get off Instagram. And then we have Valakian, who, interestingly enough, we read a rumor that River Plate are interested in Valakian services. Arman, tell us more about that.
The Buenos Aires Giants. The Argentinian Giants, actually. River Plate are interested in Norberto Briasco Valakian, our own Buenos Aires born and raised striker. Coach Marcelo Gallardo, who's one of the best coaches in all of South America and soon to make a move himself for a coaching career in Europe, personally has been asking about him. And also Feyenoord were in the environment asking about Briasco as well. So I hope, I don't know, I don't want him to stay in South America. I want him to go to Europe, honestly. And about the other two players, Kadimian and Tico, anything can happen for them too. Like I don't know. I honestly want them making good moves soon. Oh, and Babayan too. How could we forget about Babayan? Even if Babayan is actually currently injured, we were talking about depth, and there we have 4 offensive midfielders that are really, really talented, and all 4 of them are calling for a move that doesn't happen. What will happen to Tico, Kadimian, Balekian, and Babayan? I don't know. But in the meantime, we do have some players, and most importantly, most of them actually offensive midfielders that are getting regular playtime and delivering in their respective leagues, much like our very own Henrik Mkhitaryan, that we love so much, even if he doesn't necessarily perform all the time for the Armenian national team, but that's another deal. We have Vahan Bichakchian delivering in Slovakia. We have Kevor Kazarian delivering in Charens's place in Cyprus. And also in Cyprus, we have Hovannes Hampatsumian, who is very important, in my opinion, for the Armenian national team, being a right back, which is something we don't have too much of.
Yeah, he had a rocky start at Anorthosis, but he's been starting every single game since. He didn't start today. He wasn't actually even on the team sheet, and he might have had a minor injury, but he's been starting every game. And granted, he gets subbed off every game, but fullback is a position that you don't mind subbing off for an attacking talent or something like that. So he's been doing really well.
I hope he stays good and fit and healthy ahead of the national team clashes.
Yeah, he's another player that I think has improved a lot over the last year. He was a player that became, I think, made right back his own during the Nations League campaign, and that's something that was a big question mark. I know that's something I brought up, before on the first episode.
He became a leader, if you think about it.
Yeah, and the question changed from, is he good enough to be our starting right back, to more of the answer that he is, and he has become a leader since. So very happy.
The question should now be, at least now, under what circumstances could or should he be replaced by the likes of Kamo Hovannesyan?
Why replace though?
Yeah,
I have another suggestion.
Okay.
Why not, as he's growing older, why not start playing him center back and give the opportunity for the fullbacks?
Yeah.
He already has enough experience.
He's familiar with the position.
There's Danielian, there's Jordi Ararat, who is with FC Noah. We have fullback options. We have fullback depth. So that's another.
There's Ali Karakelian as well in Punic.
Yeah, there's Ali Karakelian.
Because you need confident players on the ball in the center back position, especially with teams like us, which are very vulnerable in defense when they get the ball. So it's a new suggestion. Kaparos, if you're hearing this, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. We've solved all of your problems. Some other players we can touch on. Henrik Mkhitaryan, 18 games, 8 goals, 8 assists so far this season. He is, I think, finally people are starting to realize, he is actually a good player.
We knew.
Well, we knew. That's that we knew. But the other people didn't.
Since his time at Borussia, everybody knew, and that's actually been kind of counterproductive, if you ask me, because once he realized he was the single best Armenian player of all times by far, and the representative everywhere that he went, he started to gradually feel more and more pressure and choking and walking on the pitch, and counterproductive.
Yeah.
It was counterproductive.
True.
Now he has to fight for a spot.
But he was always good.
Yeah, he was always good. Now I'm glad to see that finally people know. Another player who is very underserved currently.
Do not continue.
Sako Adamian. This guy, he came off the bench again today for Hoffenheim in the 75th minute. That's all he's been doing ever since he recovered from COVID.
Underappreciated.
There's nothing. I mean, this guy scored goals when he came back from his long-term injury. He scored something like 4 goals in 3 games. Still wouldn't get a start. Came to the national team, scored arguably like one of the most important goals ever.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah,
nothing.
in my opinion, the most important one.
Yeah, that winner against Georgia. Nope. Still nothing.
Yeah.
Pushing for a move. Is January a good time?
And
Yeah.
Teams are interested. Everybody knows.
We should bring in to Abuel here.
Yeah.
They're suffering. We need a striker.
I want him, and I think he will stay in Bundesliga. Hopefully, in another team. We actually discussed his case in the previous episodes a couple times. RB Leipzig, Werder Bremen, and I think it was Wolfsburg were interested in him. So hopefully the move happens. But after the change in coaches at Hoffenheim, it hasn't been the same.
I think there's literally a smart team right next to him that did a smart move, and he's just there. The team I'm referring to is Eintracht Frankfurt. You saw what they did with Jovetic. They just brought him on loan. Now he's scoring goals like he used to. There's Sako Adamian sitting there who needs to score goals. No one's using him. I guess we have to find who's a smart, director or manager to get him on and play him.
Yeah, I think Eintracht Frankfurt would be a good signing. I agree. I think that would be a good place for him. Hopefully, his agent, I'm sure, has already heard a lot of complaints from him. So maybe we'll see. Maybe he'll hopefully make a move, which is sad because he also signed a deal last year too to continue. So
yeah, but maybe it was for the sell to be bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
Increases his value, of course. Well,
definitely.
Speaking about strikers, bringing everything back full circle. While you're at it, tell us your favorite Yura Movsisyan related moments. Could be an anecdote, some time when you met him, could be a goal, could be a game, any sort of memory, anything that involves our fantastic striker who is now hanging his boots for good on his outstanding career, and he will be sorely missed on the Hrazdan green. Let us know. Tweet us, Instagram, follow us if you haven't already. And this has been episode 7 of Football Kentron. Thank you for listening, guys. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you, Yura. We will be back again within the next couple of weeks with an interesting debate for you guys.
Grazie, maestro.
All right. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Հանդիպեցին խլում է գնդակը մեր հավաքականը Movsisyan վտանգավոր է արված գոլ Yura Movsisyan առաջին րոպե Հայաստանի հավաքականը բացում է աշիվը եւ դառնում է Yura Movsisyանը